Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. I believe you're doing amazing and having some good moments out there. Subscribe to my channel if you're new here, and for my old subscribers, thank you for always sticking around and enjoying my videos. If you're new, like, share and have your say down below in the comment section as usual. Let's get interactive, okay? Let's get interactive in the comment section and let's subscribe and let's see what's in today's video. So today Operation 10K is still ongoing and your subscription means a lot to me, so please subscribe for me. Alright, so today's video we take a look at Manchester United's latest 2025-2026 summer target and rumors. Yeah, so we are going to take a look at the list of players that Ruben Amorim and Sir Jim Ratcliffe has pronounced as target, and also what the internet is making as rumors. So without much ado, quickly let me take you through the targets and rumors. So first up is Justin Kluivert. Justin Kluivert, a forward for Bournemouth. He has been listed on the list. So Justin Kluivert from Bournemouth to Manchester United. Next up on the list is Dominic Calvert-Lewin from Everton to Manchester United. He is also a forward. So Calvert-Lewin to Manchester United. So next up is Eduardo Camavinga. Eduardo Camavinga, a midfielder from Real Madrid to Manchester United. Yeah, there were news out there that he was not having enough play time, so he would want to leave Real Madrid. So he's also been on the list. Alright, next up is Federico Di Marco. Federico Di Marco, a midfielder, so from Inter Milan also to Manchester United. Alright, so next up is Dani Olmo. Dani Olmo, a midfielder of Barcelona to Manchester United. Alright, so next up on the list is Ademola Lookman. Ademola Lookman from Atalanta is also a forward. Yeah, so he's also on the list for Ruben Amorim. Alright, next up is Jared Braithwaite. Jared Braithwaite is a defender and also from Everton. He's also been on the list for whether target or rumors to Old Trafford. Okay, so next up is Job Bellingham. Job Bellingham, the brother of Jude Bellingham. He's also a central midfielder. He plays for Sunderland and he's also been on the target list. Alright, so next up is Jonathan David. Jonathan David, he plays for Lille and he's also a forward, more of a striker. So he's also been on the target list for Manchester United. Alright, so next up is Anthony Robinson. There is also playing for Fulham and is also a defender. So Anthony Robinson from Fulham to Manchester United. Alright, so next up is Fermin Lopez. Fermin Lopez, a Barcelona player, also on the list. He's also a midfielder. Alright, so next up on the list is Jean-Philippe Mateta. Jean-Philippe Mateta from Crystal Palace. He's also a forward. He on the transfer target. Alright, so next up is Xavier Nipan. Xavier Nipan is also a midfielder from Rosenborg to Manchester United. Alright, so next up is Nico Williams. Nico Williams is a forward for Athletic Club, formerly Athletic Bilbao. Yeah, so he's also been on the list. Alright, so next up is Milos Kekes. Milos Kekes, also from Bournemouth, plays for Bournemouth and also a left back player. He's also been on the list for Manchester United. Alright, so next up is Matthias Cunha. Matthias Cunha plays for Wolverhampton Wanderers and he's also a forward, also on the list for United. Alright, so next up is Xavi Simons, also plays for RB Leipzig and is also a forward on the list for United as well. Alright, so next up is Leroy Sané. Leroy Sané, the former City player, also playing for Bayern Munich, and he's also a forward. He has also been on the target for United. Next up is Ousmane Diomande. Ousmane Diomande is a defender for Sporting CP, and he's also been on the list for United. Next up is Alvaro Fernandez Carceres. He's also a defender for Benfica, and he's also being placed on the list. Alright, so next up is John Victor. John Victor is a goalkeeper, and he plays for Botafogo, and he's also been on the list for United. Alright, so next up is Tyler Dibblins. Tyler Dibblins is a midfielder for Sunderland and also being on the list for Manchester United. Alright, so next up is Neni Dojels. Neni Dojels is a defender for RB Leipzig, and is also being a target for Manchester United. Alright, so next up is Ronald Araujo. Ronald Araujo is a defender for Barcelona, and he's also been on the list for Manchester United. So are we going to get him? Time will tell. Alright, so next up is Edison. Edison plays more of a defensive midfielder for Atalanta. So he's also being targeted by Ruben Amorim. Alright, so next up is Goncalo Inacio. Goncalo Inacio is a defender for Sporting CP, and he's also being targeted for Manchester United. Alright, so next is Seny Lamens. Seny Lamens is a goalkeeper for Royal Antwerp, and he's also being targeted for United. Alright, so next up on the list is Christopher Nkunku. Christopher Nkunku from Chelsea. Yeah, so he plays more of a forward for Chelsea, the Blues, and is being targeted to Manchester United. Alright, so next up is Trincao. Trincao is a winger for Sporting CP, and is also being targeted for Manchester United. Alright, so next up on the list is Ebereze Eze. Ebereze Eze is a player for Crystal Palace. He plays more like a forward for Crystal Palace, and he's also being targeted for Manchester United. Alright, so guys, the last on the list will be Victor Gyökeres. Victor Gyökeres plays for Sporting CP, and is being on United's radar. Yeah, so next up is Victor Osimhen. Victor Osimhen is also a player for Napoli, but on loan at Galatasaray. He plays more of a forward for Galatasaray, and he's also being targeted by Manchester United. Alright, so next up is Kenan Yildiz. Kenan Yildiz plays as a forward for Juventus. Yes, plays more like a forward for Juventus, and is also being targeted by Manchester United. Alright guys, thank you for sticking around, and I hope you enjoyed this summer rumors and also target for United. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section, and as usual, you're going to subscribe, like, and have your say down below in the comment section. There's one thing I would like you to do for me. If there's a player you think should be added to the United lineup or system, comment the name of the player in the comment section, and we'll try as much as possible to lift that name far, so that Ruben Amorim or Sir Jim Ratcliffe could hear of us and get those players for Manchester United. So guys, thank you for sticking around, and also subscribe to my channel if you have not, and also like and share. Thank you, and I'll see you in my next video.